Yo, what is up guys? I'm here hitting you up with a new video. So today I wanted to talk to you about the new QTE skills, what my first impressions are with the skills, and I just wanted to give you the best QTE combinations moving forward in solo leveling Arise. Just before we start, just wanted to let you know, if you want to support me, links in the description down below. We have two different QTEs in this game. We have one collapse and we have death. So one triggers with airborne effects and the other one triggers with knockdown effects. I will structure that video a little bit. I will at first give you my opinion on the general abilities of the new QTE effects. Then I tell you how to trigger them, and then I tell you the combos where you want to use them. So first and foremost, when we talk about collapse, so first we have a surprise attack. This one has the ability to debuff the enemy with the augment, and when the enemy is in a break state, the damage of JINWOO increased by 15% for 20 seconds. This is the purple version. The blue one is 10% and the legendary version is 20%. This is still situational because you have to treat augment the same. It works exactly the same as it works with the Huntsman weapon. You have to land that debuff on the enemy right before you break them, so you trigger that buff. I will show you later how you want to do that. And the next thing is, it only works against true break gauges. So if you have a boss which has the classic break gauge, this is where this effect works. Where it does not work is these temporary break bars, you know, these little orange bars which appears and you have to break it. That does not apply. And for Path of Destruction, I tested it there as well. When you break the dragon, it also does not work. So only traditional break bars, similar, like exactly the same effect as the Huntsman. So this one is very good, but still situational. Then we have the fire one, the search one. While this one in theory is nice, especially with the ability, it's still hard to actually make use of it because you need to stack it up, and every time you crit you get one stack up to 20 stacks. That's in theory 100% skill damage increase. But how often will you actually use a QTE skill in combat? Hard to say, but nonetheless you can make use of this ability when there's like a fire weakness. Next up we have Thunderstorm, also one of the better options out there, one I personally like. Has a really good multiplier. It deals wind damage, and when there's no break bar, this one has 70% damage increase, and when the enemy is broken in a break state, it's now 100% damage increase. If you think about it, the fire one has to stack 20 times to reach what the Thunderstorm does when you're just in a break state, right? So this one is just a lot easier, a lot simpler, also has a stronger multiplier. Last but not least, we have Compress. Compress has a similar effect to Fatal Strike, for example. I do not like this. I think this one here, Compress, is the weakest out of all of them. Yes, it has a 4% break decrease immediately, but the problem is if you use like Reawakening Gold version 20%, you have now a 17-second cooldown on it. It just takes way too much time. Now with Fatal Strike, you remove 5% instantly, and you only have a 2 seconds cooldown, and then you crit again, and then you remove another one. This just takes too long. Never use it. It's not good at whatsoever. Then next up we have Death. Now with Death triggers with Airborne, we have the Overshadow. Overshadow in theory has a high damage potential, especially when you have it gold, and then you have a 200% skill damage multiplier. So when you have it in gold upgraded, it has around 7,500% multiplier, so it is good overall. But it's also very situational where you want to use it. Then next up we have the Extinction one. Extinction one has a very specific use. So maybe you have like a boss which deals hella damage and you kind of want to be able to tank a little bit more, you want to use it. Or what's most likely where you want to use it is the guild boss. Now Extinction is very good because the blue version provides a 20% attack decrease for 15 seconds, which is huge already, just the blue version of it. The purple one 30% and the legendary one 40% attack decrease. So this one allows you huge ton of survivabilities for your hunter so no one dies, less RNG. You know how it goes with the guild boss sometimes when your units die. This one has also, this one you definitely want to use for that, but I will go through that in a minute. Then we have Squall. Squall is a very good all-around QTE skill. It provides medium break, has a knockdown effect which triggers the collapse effect. We'll go into that in a minute. And it applies corrosion for 8 seconds, which basically increases your break effectiveness. So you want to do that first and then follow up with your break skills. And then next up, theoretically, in my opinion, has the highest damage potential out of all QTEs is Ice Strike. Ice Strike is water-based, has high damage multiplier, and this skill freezes on hit 1, and on frozen targets it deals 80% increased damage. If you have the legendary version, it's 150%. This one also has a high multiplier at the very end, and the interesting part is you can combine that pretty well with different things. For example, you use the Thief's Grimoire, you freeze first, then after freezing with the Thief's Grimoire you can proc this one, for example, to deal more damage. Or what you can do is, for example, what you can also do is, for example, you combine it together with the Secret Explosion. So you use Thief's Grimoire, freeze up, do a dash, use Secret Explosion, because this skill, when it hits, you get a knockdown, and with the knockdown you trigger, no, sorry, and not the knockdown, but you get the knockdown on the first hit, sorry. But when the final hit lands, you get the airborne effect, basically. And the airborne effect is what will trigger death, the Ice Strike. And then you can do a dash and then follow up with that to deal even more damage. But it is also situational, because the only place you want to use that specific QTE is when there is a water weakness and when you can freeze. So this is a given. For example, for the guild boss, you don't want to use it because you cannot freeze. And the same for Powerful Destruction, you cannot freeze. So it's like you can, but don't necessarily need to, but you can. Now, before we actually discuss the combination, there's one thing to note is how do you trigger QTE skills. Now, they did a lot of changes to what weapons trigger what kind of effect, knockdown or airborne effect, and most of the weapons have now a ability to their core attack where they got airborne or knockdown, just to make it as simple as possible so you understand it, guys. So first of all, the pistols do not have any knockdown or airborne abilities, and there are only 2 weapons which their core attack provides a knockdown effect, and that is the Baron Daggers and Moonshadow. Those 2 are the only 2 weapons which provide knockdown on core. The rest of the weapons provide airborne with their core attack. So it's easy to know, okay, Moonshadow, Baron Daggers, knockdown on core, the rest does airborne on core. Now, for their weapon skills is exactly the other way around. Moonshadow and Baron Daggers on their core do knockdown on their weapon skill, which you use, trigger, they do airborne. And that also applies for the other weapons, that they do not airborne on core attack, but they do knockdown on their weapon skills. There are only 2 exceptions. That is one Plum. Plum does airborne on core and on the weapon skill, and the Fireball does airborne on core and the weapon skill. Those are the only exceptions, but this is just a basic understanding what you need to know. So because you will go into battle and you're like, okay, I want to use Death Knell, which you need an airborne effect, or you want to use Collapse Knell, which you need a knockdown effect. And then sometimes you feel like, okay, why am I not triggering it? There's a basic understanding what you need to know. Obviously, support hunters and stuff like that play a role as well, but just giving you a general idea just for the weapons. Obviously, your skills also have the effects, but put it simply, first of all, with the weapons, with core attacks, what you can expect to trigger certain mechanics. Now for the first combo you want to combine is the guild boss. The combination for the guild boss is the extinction one, which provides a attack decrease to the boss with the death one, and for collapse you want to use Thunderstorm. Thunderstorm has high multiplier, high damage output, does everything you want, and you can easily follow it up with Vacuum Wave, which is meta in the guild boss dungeon anyways. So when you do Vacuum Wave, it will actually trigger your collapse, and then you can follow up with that. Especially QTEs are used during your off times when your skills are in cooldown and you cannot do much anyways or outside of that. So you can do, for example, then follow up with a Wagon Wave while everything else is still on cooldown. It will trigger your collapse. Now you can follow up with a Thunderstorm to provide extra damage. Or if you did like core attacks with your Plum or whatever, right, you trigger now the Extinction, and this one will debuff the boss with the attack, so all your hunters stay alive. Now for the second option, that is your general usage when you have classic break bars, which synergizes pretty well, is you want to use for death, you want to use Squall. This one has the corrosion effect with the break effectiveness and has a medium break. For collapse, you want to use surprise attack, because once you apply that right before you break them and then break them, you now get a 15% when you have the purple version, 15% damage increase for 20 seconds, and this one is active for 8 seconds. Now I'm doing a Baron mode. I will just skip right to the part where you see it because I don't want to make this video too long, and then we discuss it there. As you can see here, the effect got triggered. There was this button at the very bottom which said JINWOO's damage dealt increases, and now this effect is active for the next 20 seconds. So this is how you want to use it. I'm just telling you, while this skill is probably one of the better ones or one of the best options you can use, it is still nonetheless very situational. So don't expect it to be like that crazy carry that does everything for you. It is good, but you also have to time it perfectly. It is not that easy. And yeah, this is all I wanted to showcase you guys today. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, what you think, how you like the new QTE skills. Do you like them? Do you feel like they are kind of underwhelming? Did you hope for more? I feel like I'm in the middle, to be honest. It's like a good addition, but it's not like anything game changing in my opinion. But yeah, that's about it, guys. Also, if you enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to leave a like and a comment down below. I really appreciate it, and see you with the next one. Deuces.